Welcome to the channel. Welcome back to the series. Let's talk about eating and drinking for the glory of God. I hope you enjoyed the video. God bless you. Mama, okay, you can continue now.
Thank you, baby. Let's get right into our episode today. It is the second part of the first episode, and we're going to dwell more on the first part of 1 Corinthians 10:31. But allow me to read the whole verse, which says that therefore, whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do all to the glory of God. So we always pray before our meals. We do pray and thank God for blessing us with food, which is a good thing to do. But how often do we pause and think what we are actually putting into our bodies? How we have prepared it even, and how we are eating or when we are even eating that food. And another question is, can food really affect our minds? Can it affect our emotions? And can it affect our spiritual life? That's all we're going to deal with this day. In my previous video, I mentioned that you're not your own. Actually, the Bible tells us that we were bought at a price. And the blood that was shed that we may be redeemed is greater and so precious. We cannot claim ownership on our own bodies, on our own selves. We cannot. We are owned by one who is greater than we are. 1 Corinthians 6:19 says that, or do you not know that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have from God, and you're not your own? For you are bought at a price. Therefore glorify God in your body and in your spirit, which are God's. So our body and our spirits are not our own, and we are the temple of God. A temple, first of all, is not a dumping site. So we cannot be casual with what we eat. The verse mentions that our bodies and our spirits are not ours. This statement brings me to an important part where I have to remind you that you're not just a body, you are a system. You're a system that comprises our body, mind, and spirit. And these three are connected. Whatever is done to one of them affects all the other two. So if I don't treat my body well, my mind will show. If my mind is not being fed well, my spirit will show. And since in this particular episode we're dealing with the food, it is the body that we interact more with when it comes to food. And so how I feed the body will show itself in my mind and in my spirit. So what you eat affects your brain, it affects your emotions, it affects your decisions, and all areas of your life. Food is not just physical, it is spiritual preparation. Whether you'll be slothful, all depends on your food. Whether you'll be active and offer God the service that He needs, that He expects from you. Whether you'll offer yourself as a living sacrifice that will be accepted by God, all depends on your food. Unfortunately, we never take this in out of ignorance, and also because we want to justify our ways. We always want to argue. But for anyone who is willing to follow the path of God, when He says this is the way, walk in it, in humility and asking strength from Him, we are to let go of our ways and do that which is right. Our question should always be, what does the Bible have to say concerning this? What does the Lord have to say concerning this? And so one thing we get from all that I've said is that we should not be casual with what we eat, because this not only affects my physical strength, the way I look, my fitness and everything, it affects the state of my mind, thus affecting my spiritual life, how I relate with others. And we saw in the first part of the episode, that how I relate with others will contribute more in how I glorify God, because my second duty as a Christian is to love my neighbor as I love myself and as much as I love God, right? God is not just concerned about your church life. He's not just concerned about your prayer life. He cares about your plate. He's concerned with what is in your plate. He's concerned about how you're going to eat that food, when you're going to eat that food, and why you're eating that food. Is it for His glory? You've probably heard this before, that a clouded stomach equals to a clouded mind. And this clouded mind will automatically struggle to hear from God. It's harder to pray, it's harder to focus, it's harder to study the word when the body is overloaded. And this brings me to the point of overeating. Overeating is another segment that is normally not talked about. It has been sidelined to the point where we think it's normal. Maybe because unconsciously we have accustomed ourselves to it, thinking that it's okay. It's okay to overeat because the food was sweet and because it tastes nice. We've gotten to the point where preference, pleasure, and taste are the rule of life. In the beginning, it was not so. God intended that His children should have temperance when it comes to eating and drinking. While overeating may be relative, your overeating may not be my overeating, but they are still overeating, right? And we've said that a clouded stomach is a clouded mind, and a clouded mind cannot hear from the Lord. When you overload your stomach, you're not just overloading the stomach, you're also overloading the brain, because the brain will have to come in assistance to digest that food, that extra that will go to waste, by the way, which will eventually end up burdening the liver. And you'll end up having these fats, which you'll start complaining that, guys, tell me what to do, I need to exercise. It's not even about the exercise. It's how you eat, when you eat, the quantity that you choose to eat. Our bodies don't even need lots of food. It just needs a right amount of food, which it can be able to convert into good blood. So when we overeat, the large quantities, especially from the poor quality of food that we eat, cannot be converted to be good blood. They end up clogging the system. What more do you expect from the mind? What more do you expect in your spiritual life from a machinery that is clogged day in, day out? Just as taking a simple example of what we see of the pipes at home, when they are clogged, your sink will block. What do you expect from your body? Overeating is a sin. This weakens the digestive organs. It leads to diseases, sometimes headaches, sometimes indigestion, even colic, and sometimes more worse. It does not show as any effect, but eventually it will show. Will we blame God for not intervening? And so when the clogged stomach seeks the assistance from the brain, the nerves of the brain have been numbed, and this overall weakens the vitality of the brain. What's more is left from a brain that is deteriorating day in, day out. Will it be a clear mind that can serve God? Will there be a clear spirit that can hear from God? No way. The skin itself will show. The body itself will show. The muscles will show. We need to pay attention to these things. As little as they may seem, they have an effect on the major things that affect our lives. And if you're a parent, you need to teach your children self-denial. You need to teach them temperance when it comes to our diet, to their diet. We are living in an age of gluttony. You can't afford to be negligent in this area. And this leads me to the last point. I'd like to read a few verses from the Bible, 4 of them to be specific, and one comes from the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 37, which says that, "But as the days of Noah were, so also will the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered the ark. And they did not know until the flood came and took them all away, so also will the coming of the Son of Man be." Let's read another one from the book of Luke, chapter 17, verse 28. "Likewise, as it was also in the days of Lot, they ate, they drank, they bought, they sold, they planted, they built. But on the day that Lot went out of Sodom, it rained fire and brimstone from heaven and destroyed them all." There is obviously nothing wrong with eating and drinking. So the issue is not eating, the issue is not drinking. But the issue from both times, during the time of Noah and during the time of Lot, is that they had gone into excessive eating and drinking to the point that they were being led by the passion. Passion controlled their minds. Sin did not appear sinful. crime did not appear like it's something bad, and it was regarded so lightly. You kill someone, it's okay. You grab someone's land, it's okay. Someone's child is raped, nothing is being done by the government. Evil was regarded lightly, and this was due to the excesses of drinking and eating, indulging of appetite. And you know what came after? The doom. The flood swept off the people during the time of Noah, and then there was fire and brimstone raining down during the time of Sodom and Gomorrah. And when we read in the book of Genesis chapter 7, then the Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every intent of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. This was during the time of Noah. And during the time of Lot in Sodom and Gomorrah, to the point that they wanted to take the angels and sodomize them. How did that come about? It was because of the indulgence of appetite. People got to the point of eating things that were not meant to be eaten, eating without controlling themselves, even that which is meant to be eaten, and not caring at all. And here is Jesus Christ telling his disciples that one of the signs that the second coming of Christ is approaching is that the people will be so engrossed in eating and drinking without any self-restraint, without any self-denial, and without any self-control. The strongest temptation that man has to meet is the temptation of appetite. And we are called by God to be temperate in all things. And as we read in the book of Romans 12 verse 1, it tells us that, I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God. It's not by our own strength, it's by the mercies of God, that we should present ourselves unto him as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto him, that we may preserve our bodies in the very best condition of health, so that we may be able to hear from God, that we may be able to do what he has called us to do. We may render service unto him and service to our fellow human beings. It's only by us being intentional in what we eat, how we eat it, when we eat it, the quantity and the quality that we take in. The verse that I wanted to read is in Ezekiel chapter 16, verse 49, which tells us more about the people of Sodom and Gomorrah. And look, this was the iniquity of your sister Sodom. She and her daughter had pride, fullness of food, and abundance of idleness. Neither did she strengthen the hand of the poor and the needy. It mentioned three things that led to the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, and one of them is fullness of food. Is it wrong to have fullness of food? No. They ate to excess, but they did not even think to strengthen the hand of the poor and the needy. I won't even go deep onto that. I'd like to mention Daniel. Daniel sets as an example when he is in Babylon in exile. A young man that he was, he said that I'll not defile my body by partaking of the king's meat. He knew what food could do to his spiritual life. He knew how food could affect his relationship with his God. He knew that once he partook of that food, there is something that would have been lost from him. We see God honoring this young man after the 10 days of trial. He gives them wisdom and understanding. This is what happens when we choose to eat right, when we choose to be more intentional with our food. And the opposite is also true. We lose a lot when we don't make a choice as Daniel did. You remember Esau? Esau sacrificed his birthright to gratify appetite. And you think that this is a small matter? He lost blessings that he could never have back. He regretted, he cried. But there is nothing that could be done. Adam and Eve, even after being surrounded with a variety of fruits, she still had intemperance. She was tempted by the devil. And they lost Eden. They lost the perfect holiness. They were created in God's image. All that was lost because of appetite. God gives the Israelites manna from heaven, and they had been starved from flesh, the flesh which they were used to eating in Egypt. But do you know, because of appetite, they complained and murmured. Do you know how many of them died when they ate those quails? Appetite. And now Jesus Christ comes, and his first temptation had to do with appetite. And it's because he conquered it that we are overcomers. Listen, we are being called to preserve this body that the Lord has given us in the very best condition of health. That in our eating and drinking, we should seek to glorify God. And glorifying God is not just in what we avoid, but in what we choose. Before you eat, pause and ask yourself, does this honor the God who owns and gave me this body? Will this bring glory unto him? And the Lord is ready to show all of us how to eat right, how to choose the right kind of food that will glorify him, the right kind of food that will give us health, strength, make us energetic, improve our mental and even our spirit, so that we may be able to hear from him. The Lord is invested in what you eat, in how you choose your food. Pray to him. He will show you. He will direct you. He has not left us in the dark. He has revealed unto us how he needs us to take care of our bodies. He has given us all those laws and principles. And I know that he will lead you and he will guide you. There's so much to learn about eating and drinking, but I was moved to present that to you. And I hope that it will be of benefit unto you, and that by his mercies and strength you'll make steps that will glorify him and that will enable you have a close relationship with him.
Thank you for listening to Mama's podcast, and I will see you next Friday.
Thursday.
Bye. Where's your juice?